Do you have an important presentation coming up in English and you're worried about questions or how to handle the questions that you might get asked? Then this video is probably going to be helpful for you. This will be the first video in a multi-part series about how to handle questions in business English presentations. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 tips to help you handle questions if you get questions during your presentation or sometimes at the end of the presentations. These tips will help you prepare and answer those questions professionally using proper business English terms. Let's get into it. Greetings, colleagues. My name is Timothy Barrett, and welcome to the 4 Business English Rundown. This is for people all over the world who want to improve their professional communication skills in English. How to handle questions, business English presentations, Part 1. So today, in this part, we're going to give 5 quick tips that'll help you better answer questions during your business English presentation or maybe at the end of the presentation. But when we're giving a presentation, it's common to be a little bit nervous, what questions are going to be asked. And the most difficult part is you never know what questions are going to be asked. I mean, if you knew, then you'd probably include the answers in your presentation, which is something you want to try. It is useful to kind of think about the questions that might come up and be ready for them, or, like I said, include the answers in the regular presentation so you don't have to deal with the questions. But no matter what you do, there's always going to be questions that come up that you didn't anticipate. So these tips will help you deal with those types of questions. Let's get started. The first tip is to be confident. And this is true while you're giving your general presentation, but also when you're answering questions. And maybe it's even more important when you're answering questions. Be confident. Don't worry about the fact that you're actually very nervous and you're not sure how to answer this, or maybe you're intimidated by the person who's asking the question. Maybe they're a bigwig, that sort of thing, or just an intimidating person, or maybe their English is a lot better than yours, or maybe their knowledge in this area might be a lot deeper than yours. Whatever the situation, don't let that throw you. Instead, be confident. You are knowledgeable about your area, about your presentation, about what you know, so be confident. Fake it till you make it. The next tip, listen intently. So when they're asking that question, don't worry about coming up with an answer. Don't worry about what your next slide or your next topic, your next point that you want to make is. Listen completely to the question. This is very important because a lot of times when we're getting a question, sometimes we just kind of block it out. If we get nervous, then we're thinking about something else. We're thinking about this, or we think, okay, how can I answer this? Maybe they're asking 2 or 3 parts to their question, and you're just focusing on the first part. Or we've all seen this like in game shows where the announcer will start asking a question and a contestant will hit the buzzer and then they'll answer a question, but it's not the question the announcer was going to ask. The announcer was, if he continued, would ask a very different question, but the contestant didn't hear the second half of the question. So be very important to stop thinking about anything else or doing anything else and just listen intently. Now, depending on the context, what kind of presentation you have, it is helpful to have pen and paper, some notes in front of you. So if they're asking kind of a long question, maybe take some notes as you're listening. That can be very helpful. Obviously you're not going to write out full sentences or anything like that, but just a couple of short things, maybe bullet points, just to remind you what their question was, especially if it was a long question. But you want to listen intently, give them your full, undivided attention as they ask their question. The next tip, rephrase the question in your own words, and then kind of ask, is that your question? I've been a part of other professional organizations where this was part of their practice. They trained all their instructors to restate the question. This can be very helpful for 3 different reasons. One, it makes sure that you understand the question. Maybe when you rephrase it, You're putting it in your own words and you understand the question better. And if you didn't understand the question, like, again, you're going off in this direction, they were asking a question over here, this gives them an opportunity to, no, that's not what I meant to ask. And maybe they'll rephrase what they said. Because sometimes when you ask questions or when someone's asking a question, I've seen this from judges a lot, they're just going off the top of their mind, and it's not always clear to the listener who has to answer the question, what question are they really asking? So if that's the case, it allows them to kind of change their question or refine their question. And if you don't understand it, they'll be able to make it a little clearer so that you do understand it. Another good reason is it allows others to hear the question. And sometimes you see this like on YouTube videos or something like that, where you're hearing the speaker, but you can't hear the questions. So if the speaker says, yes, that's very true, but you don't know what the question was, that doesn't help you as part of the audience, as a listener. Now, in some contexts, maybe it's a small room, so everybody clearly heard the question, but it's still a good habit to get into. You rephrase or restate the question, and then everybody else can hear that question. And a third reason this is good is it gives you a little bit more time. While you restate that question, you put it in your own words, you're kind of thinking, those wheels are turning, how can I best answer this question? And often, simply by rephrasing it, putting it in your own words, that can help set you up for the answer that you want to give anyway. So this buys you a little bit of time and helps you get started in the right direction in answering it. Next tip, what happens if you don't understand the question? You can't even rephrase it or restate it because you don't even understand what the heck are they saying. Now, maybe this is because of an English problem, you didn't understand the words that they were using, or maybe it was just you don't understand what they were talking about. And again, sometimes people asking the question, they're coming off the cuff, they're just speaking off the top of their mind. Maybe it's not clear, even to other listeners, what question they're asking. So it may not be you, in other words. Don't worry about it. Remember tip 1, still be confident. Don't worry that you didn't understand what the heck this person was saying. But how do you respond to that? Ask them to rephrase the question. I didn't quite understand what you're asking. Can you rephrase the question? Can you explain that in a different way so I can better understand what you're asking me? Something like that is very effective. And if it was kind of ambiguous, it was kind of a vague question, it forces them and helps them to kind of reformulate in their own mind what they are asking. What information are they really looking for? What question do they want you to answer? And so hopefully they will, and then you will understand that next question that they come up with. Now, be careful of just saying, can you say that again, or can you repeat that? Now, if you didn't understand them because you just didn't hear them, then, can you repeat that? I just couldn't hear you. That's fine. But if you heard them, but you don't understand them, you don't want them to just restate the same words. You don't want to tell you again. You want them to use different words. You want them to rephrase it. So make sure that you ask for that. And the fifth and final tip, pause. Take a breath, think about your answer, and then respond. Don't feel like you have to, as soon as they finish their question, boom, you have to jump in and start running with your answer. Don't be afraid to pause. Take a breath, think about your answer, and then respond. And this kind of goes back to that first tip, right? Be confident. Don't worry about a little bit of silence. I don't mean to take 5 minutes and think about a response, but take a moment, take a little bit of time, and then think about it and answer the question. When I worked in the courtroom a lot and would prepare a witness to testify, most of the time they're not used to testifying, this is one of the tips that I would also give them. Don't worry about a little bit of a pause. No one is worried about that except the speaker. If you think it's your turn to talk, you feel tremendous pressure to talk. But don't let that get to you. Be confident, take a little bit of pause, and then answer. And your answer is going to be usually a heck of a lot better because of that time. And And also think about it from the questioner's perspective or the other audience members. If you pause a moment and then answer, you actually look like you're a little bit more professional, you're more confident. You're not like in a rush, oh, I have to answer this question, and then you just start talking garbage because you haven't even thought of the answer yet. But you're showing confidence in professionalism by pausing and then giving a good answer. So don't be afraid to do that. All right, hopefully these tips were able to help you. Stay tuned for the next couple of parts of this series. Until then, it's time to conquer that like button and make it ours. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of the other videos. Work hard today and enjoy tomorrow.